welcome to Joy in Our Town, TBN St. Joseph, Kansas City. I am your host, Lindsay Hardiman. Today we are joined with Bill Heatherman, the Director of the City of St. Joseph Public Works and Transportation. Mr. Bill Heatherman, welcome.
Thank you, Lindsay. Good to be here.
We're glad you could join us today. So let's begin by telling us briefly a bit about yourself and your position with the Public Works and Transportation.
Sure. Well, I'm currently the Director of Public Works and Transportation for the city. It's a new role for me. I've been with the city now almost 3 months.
Oh, wow.
And I've been in public works and engineering for 24 years.
Oh, wow. So overall, it's not that new to you.
You know, I know some about what I'm doing, and I'm learning a lot, too. So.
All right, so as the Director of the Public Works of Transportation for St. Joseph, what is your mission and goal?
Sure. Well, our mission as a department is to preserve and enhance the infrastructure that we have in the city of St. Joseph, and that's infrastructure that does everything to help people move around in transportation to protecting our environment. My personal goal is to help the team so that they can go out and do that job each and every day and feel supported.
All right. So you said infrastructures. In what
Sure.
ways do you notify the public of public infrastructure that might affect their community on a daily basis?
Sure. So infrastructure is one of those things that you use it every day and you don't always quite notice it or think about it until we come up with, you know, cones and kind of block a street off or get ready to do some work.
Then it clicks in your head.
That's right. So, you know, when we start construction, of course, we're putting notices out in the neighborhood. But on a lot of our projects, we really try to get the word out well in advance, have neighborhood meetings, get a conversation going about the project. Gives us more time to kind of learn what's important to that neighborhood and what kind of concerns they might have.
All right.
Yeah.
And how often are these meetings and where are they held?
So we'll usually, you know, have a meeting somewhere midway through the design of a project, and we'll try to hold it in a local school or a neighborhood center, someplace close to the neighborhood. And, you know, we send notices, you know, we send letters to people near the project, but we also put it out on our city website and other news sources.
So there's plenty of ways to get the information about the meeting.
We try, and we're always open to hearing how we can do better.
All right. And how well in advance do you try to get this information out?
So when it's construction about to come, you know, at least a couple days if it's minor, about a week in advance to let people to know and plan. Of course, sometimes we have emergencies too, you know, stuff breaks, and when that happens, we, you know, we need to show up and we kind of get things secured and try to let folks know about how long we think we'll be there.
All right. So we know about the planning of different infrastructures that's about to take place, but what if I'm a resident and I believe that my street needs to be resurfaced? How do I go about that?
Sure. Well, you can definitely give us a call to our street operations number, 271-4848.
All right.
And you know, we can kind of put it on the watch list. We use what we call a pavement management system. So we collect data. We do observations of the streets, all of our over 400 miles of streets, and try to use objective criteria to decide when a street is ready for major maintenance. The other thing is potholes. We like to make sure those get fixed really quickly. We try to have a 2-day turnaround on potholes. So we definitely like it when folks give us a call and let us know before they get too out of control.
So, but typically they don't really have to call because you have someone out there monitoring and making sure that you're on top of it.
Well, you know, our own crews pay attention each and every day. Where they go, they keep track. But by all means, folks who are in a neighborhood, if they give us a call, lets us get there quickly.
All right, so we know how to report street repairs or how we can go about getting our street resurfaced or things like that, but how can we go about reporting other traffic signal malfunctions?
Sure. Same number works for our signal folks, and you know, frankly, that number works for a lot of things.
Right.
And if the folks answering that number can't help, they know who can.
All right, wonderful. All right, so we're going to take a few moments to put some information on the screen for our viewers at home. If you would like to get more information about the St. Joseph Public Works and Transportation, you can give them a call on the number located on your screen at 816-271-4653 or by visiting the website at stjomo.info. All right, so we know how to go about letting people know that we need some resurfacing or street repairs.
Sure.
But what can drivers do to be safe when they see detours?
Okay. Well, the first thing is to just slow down.
Right.
slow down, gives you more time to think and read the signs, and it also helps make sure our workers are safe.
Right.
And then just follow the signs. There's probably no real shortcut, and just be patient.
Do you get statistics or reports of any type of incidents when these detours happen or occur?
You know, we really don't have a lot of problem with detours. Obviously, our police and law enforcement, if they see there's a problem in an area, they'll step up and watch more closely. But thankfully, most drivers do understand that, a little progress takes a little bit of patience.
Right. All right. So do you believe that there will always be roadwork improvements going on throughout the year?
Oh, sure. Every year, we will have some amount of work, and depending on the funding situation, we can sometimes do more projects than others. Our city council, I think, has been very dedicated and supportive of trying to find more ways to make sure we can keep up with our streets. But yes, each and every year, folks can expect to see orange barrels somewhere.
All right. And what is the #1 leading issue of car accidents? You said typically it's not problems with detours, but what is an issue that is in the St. Joseph area?
Nationally, distraction and distracted driving is becoming one of the chief concerns. And there's so many things going on in our lives, but when we're the driver, we probably just need to focus on the wheel and the windshield.
Right. Do you get a lot of reports from different people in the community making reports about distracted driving or their concerns? Do they come and tell you about that?
I do hear about it, and I know our law enforcement hears and sees it. And, when we're out in the work zone, we can sometimes kind of notice that folks aren't as paying attention as we'd like them to. So it's always on our mind.
Right.
Yeah.
And how do you think we can help to alleviate this issue altogether as a community?
Well, I think most of us know
To put down those phones.
to put down those phones and to turn down the radio. So, probably just reminding ourselves and our young drivers, habits start early, and if we can start good habits, the next generation may drive a little bit more cautiously than we do.
Okay. Are there any programs offered to help try to alleviate this issue?
I'm sure there are, and that's a good question.
Okay.
But
they can probably visit that website to figure that out.
Yeah, well, I'll have to look that up and let you know. I know I see myself a lot of public announcements and reminders to pay attention and drive safe.
All right, well, we're going to stop for a few moments and put some more information on the screen. Again, we are joined with Bill Heatherman, the Director of the City of St. Joseph Public Works and Transportation. And if you would like to get more information, you can call them at 816-271-4653 or visit that website located on the screen at stjomo.info. All right, so overall, what would you say, how can residents become involved to make the community safer as far as transportation goes?
Sure. Who is it that said, 90% of success is just showing up? And in terms of public infrastructure or anything happening at the city, there's always meetings, there's always some announcement of a thing to attend. And neighborhood leaders and regular people who just come to those meetings gives us a chance to really talk to people, share dialogue, and you'd be surprised kind of what a small circle of folks it is when people start coming.
So overall, just trying to encourage the residents to get out to those meetings and voice their opinions and how they feel.
Sure, and you don't have to come to all the meetings because there are so many, but as folks get involved, they kind of learn more about who to call and how to share their ideas, and we get so much good input and good information and a pulse on the community from the people who do come and visit with us at those opportunities.
All right. So I asked you about how the community can come together to help as far as transportation goes, but what about just the overall community as itself?
Sure. Well, St. Joseph has a rich history and a lot of wonderful things happening. And like any community, it has its challenges. So this process of just sharing information and dialogue whenever, however we can is important. And, I think patience as we all kind of figure out how best to meet those challenges, whether it be funding or community or infrastructure. There's a lot of big choices we have to make, and we have to talk them through.
All right. And I know you mentioned that there's several meetings. Again, when are those meetings held?
So, our city council meets on Monday nights every 2 weeks.
Nights. All right.
And And then, when we have different large projects, there'll just be special community dialogues or public meetings that we announce on our website. And it doesn't even have to be something in your neighborhood. If it just seems interesting, come on by.
And you keep saying large projects. Are there any projects, not necessarily upcoming, but maybe that have recently passed that you want to just tell our viewers about?
Sure. So we have our ongoing city resurfacing program, and we've actually been able to expand that some through some funding decisions that have been made, and that's very welcome. And we're also doing a lot of work in our sewers program and a lot of upgrades. Projects kind of come down the pipeline, and we get the word out as we're at a good point to really take people's input.
Can you give us a little bit more information about the resurfacing project and the sewer project? Not too much, but just a little bit.
So our resurfacing program is where we'll come into a neighborhood and kind of grind off the top surface of the pavement and put the new asphalt down, kind of seals things up and gives a good ride, good smooth ride. And we do have information on our website about the projects that are planned this year, and each year we update that. And then in our sewers program, we have a lot of ongoing maintenance work that comes up, but we also have some very large projects that are driven by our need to protect the environment, and that includes the Black Snake Creek Storm Sewer Separation Project, which is one that we've had a number of meetings on, and we'll continue to have.
That a lot.
Sure, yes.
That's wonderful. And you said the environment. How is the environment affecting the overall goals of the Public Works and Transportation?
So, transportation itself is part of our mission, but also treating our wastewater and taking care of our sewer system is another big mission of the department. So, we take our responsibility to protect the Missouri River and our local streams and creeks very seriously.
Right.
And there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes to make that happen.
Right, because we have to protect our environment if we want it to protect us.
That's right. We're a river city,
Yeah.
so we have to take care of that river.
All right. Well, Bill Heatherman, thank you for joining us
Lindsay,
today.
Thank you so much.
And thank you, viewers, for tuning in to Joy in Our Town, TBN St. Joseph, Kansas City. I am your host, Lindsay Hardeman, and have a wonderful week.
So I've come up with a family emergency plan.
Great. What is it?
It's difficult to talk about, so I'm not telling you.
How will we know what to do?
You won't.
I'm so glad I won't have to remember anything.
And me too. Thanks for this, sweetie.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
KTAJ TV16 would like to encourage you to partner with TBN in collecting items for 2 local outreach ministries. The Grace House, located at 2638 Lafayette in St. Joseph, is accepting your gently used clothing and household items. All items are given to those in need free of charge. Please contact the Grace House for more information at 816-262-9401. Food for Kids, located at 19th and Massany in St. Joseph, is accepting non-perishable food items, which are used to feed hungry children Monday through Friday while school is not in session. Please contact Food for Kids at 713-514-2843.
You were never meant to carry the burdens you bear. You no longer have to live with guilt or shame. God is waiting for you, and He wants to set you free. Christ came to give you an abundant life. At the Holy Land Experience in Orlando, Florida, the power of God is transforming lives. Healings, baptisms of the Holy Spirit, salvations, and forgiveness are happening in record numbers. So come, receive your miracle. God is waiting for you.
welcome to Joy in Our Town, TBN St. Joseph, Kansas City. I am your host, Lindsay Hardeman, and today we are joined with Deputy Chief James Garrett. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
We're glad you could join us today. So can you start by telling us a bit about your position?
Well, I'm a Deputy Chief over the Community Services Bureau, which entrenches or involves our public relations. So every public involvement or every community involvement, things of that nature, have to come through my office. So I'm the point of contact, the PIO, if you will, for the fire department.
All right, so what are some responsibilities and duties of the fire department?
Of the fire department as a whole, well,
Yes.
we do mostly emergency services.
Right.
And what that entails, without giving you too much, is if there's an emergency, we have to go, no matter what that emergency is. So if it's a tornado, we go. If it's a flood, we go. If it's a car accident, we go. If it's a heart attack or shooting, stabbing, anything that would cause somebody to call for help, we have to go there, and we have to have the skill to mitigate that particular circumstance.
Oh, wow. So how many departments consist of this fire department?
Well, it's just one fire department, but we have an EMS department that is entrenched in the fire department. So we do fire and EMS.
Okay.
And EMS means emergency medical services. So.
Emergency medical services. All right, so in our specific area, what are some common causes of fires or common types you mainly see?
Well, common causes of fire, types of fire, things of that nature. You have very common causes: arson. You have a lot of grease fires. You have fires that are caused by portable heating units, things of that nature. So we see the gamut as far as fires go. But as a whole, historically, fires are going down.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So, well, we do a lot of fire prevention as well. We make sure we get out and pass the word about smoke detectors, things of that nature. So that is what we hope for.
Yeah.
But our instances of other emergencies are going up. So as far as emergency medical emergencies, things of that nature, because we have a society that's getting older and has more health needs and things of that nature. So we have to gear up for things of that.
All right, so what should we do, let's say, if we happen to be caught in a fire? Because, as soon as if we're caught in a fire, we may go into panic mode, but we need to safely get ourselves out the fire or contact you all. How should we go about this?
Well, the first thing you should do is safely get yourself out of the fire. Okay. Get away from the fire and dial 911. That's the first thing you need to do, and make sure that we can get there, because we are professionals to deal with the fire itself. So if there is a fire, I would say the first thing you need to do is get away from the fire. Get away from there. Don't be a part of that emergency. Get away from there and then call for help.
All right. So you mentioned grease fires, and I know that grease fires, there is a certain way to put it out, and there's some things that you shouldn't do to put it out. So how should you go to get a grease fire put out, and what should you not do?
Well, you should not throw water on a grease fire, because water, for all intents and purposes, are going to spread the fire. The grease will float on top of the water and float to another area.
Make matters worse.
So we use different things for grease fires, and it all depends on the specific grease fire, where it is, and how we have to attack that. So.
All right, so you mentioned smoke detectors earlier. So as far as smoke detectors in the home, are there certain rooms that should have them, or should it be in every room? How should that work?
Quite personally, I think it belongs in every room, and those smoke detectors should be checked at least twice a year, if not more. And we usually check those during daylight savings time or something like that. But now they have new smoke detectors that have a 10-year life, have a 10-year battery, all those natures. But you still need to check those batteries as well. So.
All right, so you need to replace the batteries as often as the daylight savings, or just goes for checking?
Well, in the 10-year batteries, not you don't have to change those once a year, because they're 10-year batteries. But you want to check it to make sure that the battery is operating. You at least want to check it during daylight savings times and things of that nature, so you can make sure that it's operating.
All right, so if you don't check it any other time, make sure during daylight savings.
Well, at least that ought to remind you to check it. But you should check it as often as possible, because it is a preventive measure to make sure that individuals can get out of the home safely.
All right, so we're going to take a few moments to put some information on the screen for our viewers at home. If you would like to contact the Kansas City Fire Department, you can give them a call at 816-513-4600, or visit the website to get more information at kcmo.gov/fire. All right, so we talked about some smoke alarms, but as a preventive measure, but what about fire extinguishers? Should we have those in the home as well?
Fire extinguishers are very beneficial in a home. Again, those fire extinguishers, based on the fire, because you have some water fire extinguishers. Again, we talked about grease fires and things of that nature. You wouldn't want to use the water extinguisher on a grease fire. You have CO deals for different fires, and you have different extinguishers for different fires. So while the extinguisher is very beneficial, you want the proper extinguisher to put out the fire that you have. If you had electrical fire, you don't necessarily want to throw water on an electrical fire. So some of those things, it makes a difference what type of extinguisher you have as far as in the fire that you have.
So for different places, you should have different fire extinguishers. So which one would you recommend to have in the homes?
Well, again, it depends. I think the CO fire extinguishers are one of the better fire extinguishers because they cover a lot more fire, where you can use them on fires that you can have water on as well as other fires. So those are very beneficial fire extinguishers to have around. So.
All right. And as far as fire extinguishers go, there's a proper way to use them. Are there instructions on the fire extinguisher you can figure it out, or is there demonstrations around town?
There are instructions that come on the fire extinguisher. Also, the company that you buy the fire extinguisher from, they ought to be able to demonstrate with you how to properly use the fire extinguisher. If not, we frequently do and will work with people on that.
All right. So as far as the home goes, we know that there's different type of fire extinguishers we should have. But in businesses, is each business required to have a fire extinguisher on hand?
Well, it all depends on the code in the business because we have different codes for different areas for different businesses. And so some have fire extinguishers, some have different extinguishing units that they may have that are already in the building, whether it be a sprinkler system or a standpipe system or things of that nature. So it all depends on the business, the building, and what they have in there. So,
are there some that you can mention just right off the top of your head that are actually required to have them? I know it varies by business.
There are some buildings, especially downtown, that are required to be sprinklered. There are some businesses that are required to have standpipe systems because they're such huge businesses that we need to have water supply in the upper areas and sometimes deep in the building. So I don't know specific buildings, and you have to speak to specific code, and we have a lot of it. We have over 300 square miles that we have to service. So it's a lot. So, but it depends on the building.
All right, and you mentioned the sprinkler system. So I know I've been in various buildings with sprinkler systems. How fast do they get the alert to go off?
Well, it all depends on the system. Some of those systems are heat censored, and some of them are smoke censored. So it depends on what triggers that, and when it triggers, if the whole system is going to go off, or where if one sprinkler head goes off, every sprinkler in the building goes off, or if it stays centered in that area. So all those things are relative to the type of sprinkler system that you have. So.
And as far as the sprinkler systems go, are they required in only buildings, or is it different places? Which kind of buildings are required to have those?
It depends on the fire code again, and that fluctuates from area to area. And so if you have a business, you want to know exactly what that code calls for, and in most instances, we'll send a fire inspector out to kind of give you education on what type of measures that you need within the building, whether it be electrical, sprinklers, things of that nature, and make sure that you get off on a good start. So.
Okay, so you say you send out a fire inspector. So anytime, say I want to start a new business and I recently bought a building, that's something I have to go through to get inspected? Yeah, you have to go through building codes, and you have there is a process that you have to go by, and fire inspection is in that process. So. All right, so we talked about the different buildings and businesses, but let's focus to schools. What are some fire codes they must abide by? Well, they must have a fire plan. And the other specific to schools, it's sometimes they're so extensive. I have to have it with me to be able to rattle off line by line for you. But I mean, they have to have a fire plan, and they have to have some must-haves in there, because you have to account for not only the building and property, but you have to account for a bunch of lives there, and you have to be able to call it up and see exactly where people are, things of that nature. So those become very hectic scenes. Schools, nursing home, things of that nature that are really saturated with people, hospitals that you have to go into and really clear people out and see exactly where the fire is and things of that nature. Well, I never thought about a hospital. Of course, being in school, I went through fire drills, but hospital, I bet that can get real hectic. It can, especially when you have people who can't walk and you need to get people evacuated, so that becomes very cumbersome. All right. Well, we're going to put some more information on the screen for our viewers at home. Again, we are joined with Deputy Chief James Garrett. And if you would like more information about the Kansas City Fire Department, you can give them a call at 816-513-4600 or visit that website at kcmo.gov/fire. All right, so we talked about some different emergency plans to get out in the sense of a fire. So let's focus back to the home. Should a family have a plan as well, and what should that plan consist of?
Absolutely, they should have a plan, and that plan should consist of different scenarios that they may encounter, such as a house fire, such as maybe a tornado drill, things of that nature. They should not only have a plan, but they should actually practice that plan, if not once a month, but as often as you think about it, because your family's safety does ride on that. And most people don't think about that or don't do it until you have some of those moments come up. But we have statistics that say that most people are going to have a life-changing event, at least 3 in their lifetime.
Right.
And depending on depending on where the emergency service is it comes in that deal. It depends on your survivability.
Right. All right, so you said, practicing the plan and then you get to execute the plan. How often do schools have to go through the plan? Do you all tell them how often they should practice it, or is that just by how they plan there?
There are some laws that will stipulate that you must practice so often, and then you have school districts that go above that sometimes. So a lot of the schools are real good about making sure that they're one, that they have a plan in place, and 2, that it's practiced regularly.
All right, so let's say we're practicing fires and we want to prevent them, but let's say a fire does happen to happen. How are you all contacted as far as through the schools, through buildings? Do we just call you up automatically, or is there a system in place that automatically alerts you?
Oh, definitely. We have a 911 system. Now, if you call 911, it generally goes to the police department, and based upon what you say to the 911 operator is depending on whether you get fire, EMS, or any of those things. Other than that, you have most schools that have alarm companies so they have fire alarms, and it depends. If the fire alarm will alert our central station and send units out that say there's just a fire alarm there. When our units get there, if they have a fire, then they'll go from there, or we can get 911 calls. So.
All right, and are there different smoke detectors we can buy in our home that will automatically alert you, or that just alerts us to get to alert you?
No, if you have a fire alarm, much like a burglar alarm, those things they will tend to alert us, and you have to be very mindful of which alarms are better for which area. So.
All right. Well, Deputy Chief James Garrett, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And thank you, viewers, for tuning in to Joy in Our Town, TBN St. Joseph, Kansas City. I am your host, Lindsay Hardeman, and have a wonderful week.
This program has been sponsored by the Trinity Broadcasting Network and made possible by your telephone dollars. Your continual support can keep Joy in Our Town brought to your home every day. So write Joy in Our Town, P.O. Box A, Santa Ana, California, 92711.